Hey, Keegan, did you know that HTC are getting out of the VR business?
No.
How about you?
Make that big boss that special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Codename Morpheus, Episode 7. My name is Tom, and I'm going to be your host alongside my co-host, Mr. Keegan here.
I thought you said your hostel. You'll be hosted along with your co-hostal.
Go hostel on all of you.
Your co-hostal.
Sorry, we were giggling a lot before we started, and it's been...
I've had a lot of Red Bull.
It
literally took us probably 5 minutes to start this episode.
We've been rolling for like 11 minutes at this point. Anyway, welcome back. This is your weekly dip into the world of the virtual, where we go through some new releases, sales, obviously the news, which is a big part, and then we spotlight a game for you. This week, that's going to be Apollo 11 experience, and then we end out with a question, which I don't think you've seen yet. At least you might have peeked at it real quick.
I just looked. I was like,
cheater.
I think I saw it last night because... Fun fact about these things: we send each other the notes beforehand. Doesn't mean to read them. So I did look the other night and I saw the question. I couldn't remember what it was because we've been debating between.
We'll find out when we get there.
We always debate between multiple questions.
Yeah, it's an easy one. It's a softball. We did the arguing in Indy. We wrote a softball for this one.
So what's the new games this week, Tom?
New games. So here we go. So the pre-order for DreamWorks' Voltron VR Chronicles went up. Now this is not obviously a new game technically because it's still a pre-order, but the pre-order went live this week. So we thought it was important to talk about it because frankly it looks fucking awesome.
And it's also on sale because if you pre-order it,
it's on sale too. It's $12 down from $15. Not that that's a gigantic sale, but it is a sale nonetheless.
Are you a Voltron fan?
Not really.
Me neither. I'm too young for Voltron. I was a Power Rangers guy. I was not a Voltron guy.
I was a Power Rangers guy.
How are you Power Rangers?
I grew up on the first series.
Super Sentai?
I don't know.
Or like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mighty
like
Morphin.
The Western version of it.
Yeah.
How? That's from the 90s. That's from me.
Yeah, I was alive in the 90s too.
Like what, 8 years old?
I was really young. Yeah, I was really young.
You were really young. I was really young.
I was watching.
I was not even in school when that show was on.
Yeah. Well, I was older than that.
So you were probably in elementary school, maybe middle school. Dude, you were old for Power Rangers.
Fuck out of here. No one's too
old.
But
Voltron, DreamWorks. This is made by DreamWorks, like the Shrek people. That's what they're known for, mainly.
Looks great. The trailer for it's fantastic, as you can see. But yeah, it's super interesting looking.
It doesn't
has
look
a lot
like
of
a
humor
game. It looks like an actual experience. We couldn't really tell from the trailer.
I think there's some game elements.
I'm sure there is.
It's definitely like let's put you in an episode of Voltron, the animated.
You know who's gonna really like this? Who has a PSVR? Our buddy Tegrado.
Yeah, Tegrado's.
I feel like I need to share this with him.
Cody's a big Voltron fan too. So
he doesn't have. We'd have to have him come play PSVR.
I know lots of people that like Voltron.
I don't.
But yeah, it's really cool. Looks really cool. I don't think that the price is out of order for a game of this sort of magnitude.
I wonder how long it is. That's the thing.
Probably not very, but I mean, if you're a fan of the show, then
I mean, it's Voltron.
You dig it, right?
As long as it doesn't Spider-Man it, we're good.
Yeah, Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man was free, so you can't bitch about that.
Yeah, I'm paying for this, so it better be better.
And then, of course, we have another huge game, and this is the world's first V-Sport, and that is Spark. S-P-A-R-C, not K, in case you were wondering. But yeah, Spark has been kind of on the radar for a little while now.
Sony's been pushing this one.
Yeah, they have. It's by CCP, who were the guys that did Eve Valkyrie, so it's a pretty distinguished company to begin with, and they get Gunjack as well, the #1 most selling PSVR game for some reason.
Isn't it free?
No, it's not. It's like $10.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, CCP made this game, and they're sort of touting it as the world's first V-Sport. As you can see, I'm rocking my eSport jersey again today. I've been all the way through Cologne now. I got the new phase team with Guardian and Olafsmeister. I'm proper nerding out on this shit.
See, I just watched the stuff.
Yeah, no,
I've watched
it's
way too much Overwatch.
It's my new football now. Like I get excited about the
soccer
trades.
For you people. Football.
Yeah.
Football season's about to start.
I get real excited about the trades and everything. Oh, we got Guardian now, yeah. Like I got real excited about it. But anyway,
I don't follow it that closely. I'm I'm to the point where I recognize names, because I watched the Overwatch World Cup, which is obviously it's kind of like how we view soccer. It's the best of the best.
Right.
And then you go to back to the teams, you're like, oh, I remember Raucus from this, and I remember that.
Dude, I'm in the leagues now. Like I've transitioned from watching the majors into I'm actually watching a league, which is something I've never done in the history.
See, I watch Apex, but it is I want to say it's Japanese probably because it's characters, so I'm guessing it's Japanese or Chinese or Korean.
Apex, a game player for G2 in
Apex is
CS:GO.
the team.
He's also a player. Anyway, so Spark looks interesting. I've had my eye on it for a long time. Apparently it's exhausting, which is all the reports so far have come back as saying, oh my god, I almost died playing
So we need
game.
to add this to we're going to make a video on best workout.
We're going to make an exercise
VR.
playlist for VR, which is like all the games.
I really want some Richard Simmons booty shorts.
We can make that happen. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun putting that video together. But yeah, Spark, very interesting so far. Good reviews. Everything's come back. It's been great about it. Like I said, solid team, solid idea. I don't know if it'll end up on the stage somewhere as an actual V Sport or not, but just a nice kind of change of pace for the last couple weeks. So we haven't really had anything in the way of like exercisey.
Well, we also haven't had really like a major big one that I can remember.
No, not really.
I can't remember what we had last week.
There's another game on the same price point as Spark, but so yeah, Spark is $30. Speaking of price points, and it looks interesting. So I would definitely recommend digging in there if you're up for the challenge. And then there's Sneaky Bears. So Sneaky Bears is
better watch out for them bears. They're gonna sneak up on you.
It's a gallery shooter.
Is this about gay men? They just sneak up on you.
It could be. But Sneaky Bears is like, it's kind of interesting the way they did the cinematic of the trailer and everything for it made it seem almost like a Despicable Me type thing. Like they actually did the cinematic really well.
The thumbnail I guess I don't know if it's thumbnail, but the art that they have on PlayStation Network made it look like a scary game because it's just a bear.
Makes it look like Freddy, the Five Nights at Freddy.
Yeah, it's like who's jumping
at all.
At me?
You're basically locked down in a toy factory, and you have your moves, which are 2 guns, and you have to shoot your way through teddy bears. So,
did you have a teddy bear growing up, or a stuffed animal of any sort?
I had a dog.
Like a real dog or a fake dog?
No, a stuffed dog.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
Mine played music. My grandpa gave it to me.
Mine didn't.
And then sadly he.
I'm suddenly disappointed in my toy dog for not being able to play music.
Well, so the reason he died, both my grandpa and the dog, because the windy thing, it's a wind up music box type thing. It would get stuck in his fur, and eventually got to the point where it just wrapped around where it couldn't wind anymore. So I don't think I have it anymore.
Mine just looked like kind of like.
I also had a Simba.
Snoopy with longer ears.
Simba was the other one I had. I love Simba. Baby Simba, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Abduction is the next big one. So you go from Spark to Sneaky to Abduction. And Abduction is the only one I've actually already picked up this week. I haven't had a chance to play it. I'm looking forward to recording gameplay for next week's podcast of that one. But this is by the creators of Myst.
Stay tuned next week for a spotlight.
Yeah, I think it's Cyan is the name of the company, but they're by the makers of Myst, which, as you know, is a Stone Cold classic. This game is available in non-VR and VR, so it's worth pointing out that it may not be obvious to find in the VR area of the PlayStation Store. I actually had to find it from the regular area, go into the informational section, and make sure that it said PlayStation VR compatible in there.
Or just search Abduction now, since we told you.
Or just search Abduction if you're
now that we told you and you're aware it's in both.
But yeah, it looks really, really cool. Graphically very impressive. I think it is a lot of kind of walkie simulator type stuff, but with a lot more on the puzzle side of things. So really exciting looking. The trailer makes it look beautiful. Lots of flyovers and beautiful vistas and things like that. So I'm excited to see how that translates into the world of the virtual. But that's the only one I picked up this week, although I do fully intend on picking up Spark.
You know what I picked up this week, Tom? I picked up the Into the Ice DLC for Ancient Emulator.
Did you?
Even I don't know the game. So one of the things, because we talked about this, I believe, last week, where we were like, hey, this is coming out. It's free for 2 weeks. And my question was, can I pick it up even though I don't know the game? Because I might buy it, because that's the game I want to get, but I'm probably going to wait till it goes on sale.
And yes, you can.
And the answer is yes. So even if you don't own Ancient Emulator and you potentially will pick it up, even if you don't, just do it. Like, it's one of those things where, like, anything that's free might as well.
Takes up any space, why not?
And you can always delete it off if you don't end up getting the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's time to pick it up.
You have
as close to a sale as you're going to get
14 days from the 29th, so that would be
And that's the one that has, like, left-handed mode and all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So worth picking up if that,
for
just
for
that alone. But yeah, you can absolutely pick that without having or owning Ancient Emulator. It just shows up as free, so get it. But moving on to the sales, speaking of free, nothing here in the sales is free, but there is one new edition and one old edition.
I was going to say the one that's always there.
Merville's is still there, guys. It may as well be a perma price drop at this point. But yeah, it's showing up as 14 instead of 20. It looks like they're trying to shift a lot of copies of that. And again, as we say every week, if you haven't played it, buy it. It's a good game. It's a solidly decent game. If you like platformers.
It's a solidly okay game. No, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I liked it. I enjoyed it. And as I said last week,
this weather change has been like just knocked me on my ass for sinuses, but I mean not as much as like Hurricanes.
Not as much as Texas.
On their ass, but it's still.
Those of you in Texas, you're probably not listening to us, but
we hope you're okay, man.
We hope you're fine.
Yeah.
I've seen some pictures of some pretty scary things.
It's fucked up over there.
Yeah.
Poor bastards. So the other one is Moonshot Galaxy, which is really weird, trippy looking
weird golf game that we
were kind of debating it, and then we watched the trailer, and we were like,
yeah, it looks, yeah, it was one of those games where like the trailer definitely didn't sell me on it. I was already meh, or not meh, but I was like, I don't really know much about it, and I was like, nope.
That guy's in a PS Plus sale for $7.50, down from $10. So again, nothing to scream about. But if you've been on the line about it, then $7.50 is what you have to pay to get Moonshot Galaxy. So that's the wrap up of your sales and new releases. Now let's move on to the news.
There's a couple big things in news. A couple big things.
I'm starting with the. Not necessarily the biggest news, but this was important because it actually goes.
We debated. You said it was the biggest news, and I said, if you watched your teaser, we actually go through and debate what we want to do. He thought this was. I thought the next one was. We'll talk about this one first.
We'll talk about both because that's what we do.
That's how this works.
Excuse me. So basically, we talked last week about how HTC Vive had a pretty gigantic
$200 price drop.
$200, and we were lamenting the fact that PlayStation hasn't really done anything similar to that with the PSVR, and now they have, kind of. It's not really a full price drop. It's more so you get more stuff for
to actually
the same money.
To actually use the thing.
Yeah. So the new bundle includes a PSVR headset and the camera for $400.
I like this.
Or PSVR Worlds bundle is now down to $450 instead of $500. So $50 off if you get the setup that we did, which had which is well worth getting PSVR Worlds.
Yes,
very great.
That is a perfect game to start with.
Yeah,
I think that's what most.
And that has your Move controllers, your camera, and obviously your headset in there too. Or if you already have the Move controllers over from last generation, then you can just buy the camera and the VR headset for $400. Which previously that was just.
I'm a big fan of that because the complaint a lot of people had was you buy the headset for $400 and they had to pay another $60 to get the camera, which it's dumb that you can't play out of the box when you buy a headset.
Yeah.
I think their logic was a lot of people have the camera. But even then, I'm just like, yeah, that's yeah. I'm a fan of this, and I like this. That starts September 1st. So by the time you guys see this, it'll be live. I'm trying to do math in my head. I think that's right.
29th today, as we're recording.
Yeah,
so
maybe
roughly.
Maybe the day after. I don't know how many days are in August. 30, 31.
So yeah, so that's their response, I guess, in a certain way. We still haven't heard anything.
And
about
I'm excited that there's not a big price drop. That makes me really happy.
Because they still are valuing the unit.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's not even a year old. If they did a significant price drop, and I think the high end bundle is nice to do the price drop because you're getting bang for your buck there.
Yeah.
Versus the base unit,
might push a few people over
that they kept the same. I like that because if they price dropped it in my head, that's Sony saying, oh, this isn't doing what we wanted it to do, even though they come out and said we sold millions of units, all this kind of that's. Yeah. So I'm happy they didn't drop the price. I am even more happy that they give you more bang for your buck when it comes to that. I feel like there's no bad to this for anybody.
No, win-win. Except for potentially HTC, because the next bit of news is huge. HTC apparently looks like they're getting out of the VR business, which is really quite surprising.
Yes.
I kind of in my head I'm wondering if it has anything to do with the price drop in terms of like, okay, we're having to price drop it because it's not doing well for us, which to an extent I think that has to be at least some of the story, because as we know, despite the experience of the Vive being truly special, that's a fucking expensive headset. So in order for them to gain a little bit of space in that area, they had to do it. But yeah, HTC has kind of parted ways with Valve on the Vive, and that's a fucking mouthful. But here's the actual like headline for you. So HTC, makers of the Vive VR headset, might be getting out of the VR business, according to a report from Bloomberg, after a poor 2016 where it posted losses of $513 million for the full fiscal year. The company have acquired a strategic advisor, resulting in a number of possible outcomes, including selling the Vive side of the business. Other potential scenarios include bringing in a strategic investor to the sale of the entire company. According to Bloomberg source, the company has been in talks with Google as well. The company has been struggling over the past few years with its smartphone market share dropping down to 2%. HTC's share price has been dropping since 2011, but managed a 4.7 jump on Friday ahead of the Vive's significant price cut. Despite the drop, however, the Vive is still more expensive than the competition, the Oculus Rift, and the considerably more popular PSVR headset.
So, two things with this. One, this surprised me. It doesn't surprise me at the same time because the price. Ever since everything was announced, price-wise for all of them, it's always been the consensus that PSVR will probably be the most popular because it's the cheapest overall,
right.
and it's the most accessible to people. What's really interesting there that I think could potentially cause a lot of ripples in the VR world was the name Google being thrown around. Because if you remember, who owns Oculus? Facebook. Google could get their hands on that. You know what could happen with Google and other stuff like that. To me, as much as Google scares me when it comes to like their media, their collection of data, their privacy policies, that to me is I said either last week or the week before, we need big companies getting behind it. Apple's getting behind. What does this mean for Apple partnership? That's another question.
Maybe Apple just buys Vive.
I don't think they will.
Be great though.
I think if it's a $530 million loss, there's no business sense to do it potentially unless there is some patents there that are worth it.
Yeah, and
I think there'd be biting patents.
I mean, just to buy some of those patents out from underneath them for their future projects alone, I would think it would be worth.
If they think, but the question is, does Apple think VR is the future, or does it think AR is the future? I think. My opinion is that
I think they're focusing on AR.
I think Apple's going to focus on AR,
but I think they will have to recognize VR's capabilities
unless they make AR the thing and VR just goes away.
No.
I mean, I don't think that'll happen, but I think in the smartphone world and the Apple world that does not have any sort of gaming platform, AR makes way more sense. I think they'll focus on that. I don't think VR makes sense for anything Apple currently has out that we are aware of, or currently in rumors or development that would make sense to have VR.
Interesting thought, though, isn't it?
So
buying HTC.
I'm really intrigued if Google buys them because
I'm sure they have patents for smartphones too.
Yeah, HTC. I mean, HTC.
So that's like you're getting the VR side of things, but you're also potentially because they're saying they might be selling the whole company, just the Vive or the whole company.
If they sell just the Vive, I don't see Apple doing it. If they sell the whole company, potentially I could see that. But we're making up rumors now.
Ooh, it's so exciting speculating.
But I for VR to become successful outside of or to the mainstream, to become that next big wave, we need the big companies. If Google does this, that's awesome. It kind of sucks that Vive and HTC and Valve are kind of like, we're not so sure about this. But again, I think it's mainly because they price themselves out. Sony, on the other hand, may not be saying a lot, but they've quietly, whenever they said something, which I wish they would shout louder, has been like, this is doing better than we expected. We enjoy this. I just hope that continues. And from Sony's perspective, this can't be a bad thing because that means more
competition.
Yeah, more headsets potentially coming your way.
There you go.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens. My gut feeling says this won't happen at all. They're going to stick around.
Think so?
Yep. Because I firmly believe that they will be the leader in VR on PC. Because I think Oculus is... The Touch helped, but I think Oculus is still a few steps behind them.
They're gonna have to make some changes.
Yeah, they got to do something to change it, but I don't think they would.
Something to bring down manufacturing costs.
I don't think they'll sell their business.
Yeah. So anyway, that's an exciting bit of news this week. And then to top that off, we've got some more exciting news. And this one was a bit of a back and forth.
It's a he said, she said.
It's a he said, she said. So we thought we'd bring it up because obviously this is
your note literally says the plot thickened.
Some of more, yeah, that's my note. Some more popular games that are due out on the PSVR or not, or maybe, or are they? And that is that Bethesda finally announced the official release dates for all 3 of its VR titles that it's working on. So Skyrim VR, November 17th for PSVR. No mention of the Rift or Vive, but they said presumably it'll be on Vive next year. Doom.
Yeah, assuming Vive's still around.
Assuming Vive is still a company.
It won't go out of business.
Doom VFR, December 1st, so that's going to come out a little bit after Skyrim, which is surprising. I would have thought Doom would have been in a better state of preparedness than Skyrim for release. But
well, I think
just staggering it. Do you think
they're getting the holiday season?
Yeah.
I think they should release Doom in
October.
Well, I was going to say spring, but the problem with spring of next year is you got so many games. The problem is we just have too many games coming out in general that are good. Yeah. So, but yeah, I
big year for VR this Christmas.
I can see. I love that Skyrim's going to be in November because that's going to be the holiday rush right as people are looking to buy stuff. And I assume you'll be able to buy it physically.
I wouldn't be surprised because I could see a special bundle package.
I don't think they'll do a bundle.
You don't?
Because I think the PlayStation Worlds will be their bundle that they're still going to sell. But I think that retailers will do $10 off a game or something like that. But I don't think Sony themselves are going to say, here's a Skyrim bundle.
There's been mixed reviews on Skyrim, by the way, just as a side note. Like, I've heard a lot of feedback coming back from people that played the teleport mode that said that they hated it, that everything about it was awful, but no one that's really tried it with the DS4 yet. So I'm kind of still in two minds about that. And also, I fully expect to see Move 2.0s before that becomes a thing anyway.
Well, PSX is in December, so I don't think we'll see it before then. So keep that in mind.
So Doom VFR, December 1st for PSVR and HTC Vive.
Well, I guess first Games Week, potentially.
No mention of the Rift, which is, again, is just, that guy's just slipping down, isn't it? And then Fallout 4 VR, December 12th for HTC Vive. No mention of Rift PSVR release, presumably next year, it says. It's simply coming first to Vive, and then it says refer to the update. So this is where things got weird. So after they posted this article, a tweet from the official HTC Vive Twitter account says that Fallout 4 VR is coming exclusively to HTC Vive. Then HTC backtracked on its exclusive tweet, instead explaining that Bethesda controls which platforms Fallout 4 VR will release on, and you can read more here. So we actually have these tweets. I saved them. So the official tweet for HTC that was here said... well, this was the backtrack. We errantly used exclusive below Fallout 4 VR is created by Bethesda Studios, and they determine when and where, coming to Vive 12/12. And then underneath that, Bethesda posted Fallout 4 VR arrives first on HTC Vive on 12/12, but we still want to support as many platforms as possible.
Can we just do the Microsoft thing and say console launch exclusive or launch exclusive?
I think
it's a Vive launch exclusive.
I want to know why HTC was so... Do you think it was because of the rough business area that they're in right now with all this Rocky Road stuff going on, that maybe they just like they needed that to be like to at least pretend that it was exclusive?
No, I think there potentially was a contract signed somewhere, and somebody, whoever tweeted or the article was the one that did it, and then the tweet fixed it. Whoever wrote that article may have misinterpreted how that contract was written.
Yeah.
Or exclusive.
Or misinterpreted Bethesda's release information.
Yeah. So it would be interesting to see. Like that's my thought of what happened. It was just somebody just didn't know it and understand. I think it has nothing.
But you
got
to admit, this looks good for getting a PSVR release.
Yeah, but this is the same thing PlayerUnknown Battleground's been saying for a while.
True, but I just think that, especially since Bethesda puts in capital letters first on HTC Vive, like that's almost like they're saying, no, we totally want it to come out and other stuff. And don't forget, pile this evidence up against all the GameStop
Vive
stuff. You know,
there's still another headset on PC.
Yeah.
Just because it comes first to that doesn't mean it won't come to.
It's coming to PSVR. That's Tom's prediction. Go ahead and put it in your fucking calendars.
There's one along next to my 20 of them. Before the end of
the year, we're gonna see Fallout 4 on PSVR.
I don't think it'll be before the end of the year. I think if they do, it'll be early next year.
We'll see.
You know why?
Why?
Because of this debate. So there's some wording in there that says that they get it first. Clearly, they get it first.
I'd laugh if it was like a week.
It won't be. It'll be like a month.
Yeah, we'll see.
And if it arrives on 12/12.
Well, the GameStop catalog had it as 2017 release. So I mean, we'll see. It might just be like right at the end, like the
31st. It'll be after Christmas.
Maybe after Christmas.
Or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or all those other holidays
in general. So we talked about VR not getting that much in the way of DLC.
And I feel like we're now on the way where we're getting DLC.
Excited to announce that I Expect You to Die is going to get its first little bit of DLC. Do you want to open that and talk about it? Because I can't get my link.
Well, no, because I can't get your link either.
It's from MailChimp, which is weird, but it says, your next mission, First Class. Greetings, agents. The time has come for your next assignment. Your next mission is Operation First Class. Due to sensitivity of the material and your clearance level, we are unable to tell you more at this time. However, keep your minds sharp. You'll need them. So it looks like it might just be maybe 1 or 2 missions or like a small story.
I really love this game.
Based in
this is one that I feel like always falls under my radar. But I remember playing it and having so much fun with it, like trying to solve the problem. Yeah. And David picked it up. You own. I don't own it. We played it on your account, and this is one that if
I haven't played it yet.
Whenever it goes on sale, I would do it. That's the problem. We always go to the next game like, what the fuck's coming out now? We should go back and play.
We gotta keep rolling.
But this is one. If you own a VR headset, this is one of the games that I say you should buy, kind of as like a staple in your library. It is perfect when it comes to what you expect VR to be, There's no motion sickness issues because you're sitting still, and it's puzzle solving, which I love.
It's an escape the room game.
Yeah.
So if you like escape the room games, much like Dying Reborn or whatever, except it's a way, way better version of that.
And it's not scary.
And it's not scary. Well, I mean, there's guns and tear gas, but
but it's James Bond. I liked it more for the character.
It's a spy game.
Yeah.
Basically.
Also got real trippy.
So this you shared with me this morning, which is scary, which I'm really excited to announce that the new trailer for The Inpatient got released either yesterday or today, and that looks fucking awesome. So basically, it is.
I sent it to you, but I actually haven't technically watched it. I saw it pop up, and I was watching because I was going through all the indie games and seeing what came out.
Supermassive, as you know, big in the world of VR. Got a ton of stuff on their way for us. We're really excited to see things like Bravo Team and, of course, The Inpatient and Hidden Agenda. But
Hidden Agenda is not VR, but yes. It's PlayLink.
Still Supermassive, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I was just clarifying that Hidden Agenda is not VR. The other two are. It's PlayLink.
Gotcha. So it gets a new story trailer. As you can see, it looks kind of creepy behind me. But yeah, I would recommend fully going into the description here and watching it for yourself to get the true vibes off of it, because it is a lot of like creepy music and creepy dialogue, and it really does turn it up a notch. As soon as you see the scene of like the bold like doctor guy talking to you, I got instant flashbacks to London Heist with the bald guy like interrogating me, and I just felt like, God, if this guy is in my face, it's going to be so fucking nerve-wracking. Got really excited about it. So The Inpatient looking really, really good, really sharp, and obviously they're making a good move on it. So that trailer was dropped just recently. And then a trailer that dropped this week was one for a game called Dead Hungry, which is yet another gallery shooter.
You killing the country Hungary?
Maybe.
Is Hungary still a country?
Hungary, yeah.
Okay. There's just so many fights going on in that area. I'm like, I don't even know it's a country. Yugoslavia is not a country anymore.
I think Hungary is. Yeah, Hungary is. They were in the Eurovision Song Contest.
There we go.
They're
cool.
in place.
Sorry, Hungary. Forgot about you.
So Dead Hungry is it's a gallery shooter where what appears to be zombies are coming to you and you shoot like fucking hamburgers at them. I mean, honestly,
you feel like a lot of these games are doing that gimmick.
Yeah, I wasn't super impressed by the trailer. Like, I'm not hating on it because it looks fine. It does look fine, but at the same time, like, it just is another like goofy like. And I like Dick Wild, but it's one of those like, you know, you're just wave based gallery shooter. So
no, there's no essence or no meat to it.
No.
It is what it is, and that's all that it is.
If you like zombies and you like food, you're in a good spot. Gungrave VR got announced for PSVR earlier. Gungrave is a pretty popular series here, so let's give you a little bit of information on it. Blue Side has announced Gungrave VR, an Iggy Mob developed virtual reality exclusive cinematic action shooting game.
That's a lot of words.
I know. Based on the Red Entertainment developed PlayStation 2 title. It will launch first for PSVR in Japan in 2017, followed by other virtual reality devices such as the Oculus and the Vive. Gungrave VR is a new title developed by optimizing the Gungrave released for PS2 in 2002 for PlayStation VR. The worldview of Gungrave will remain unchanged, and it is being developed with a story that goes beyond the sequel, Gungrave Overdose. The game's infinite shooting, object destruction, and full break action are being optimized for virtual reality. It will incorporate both the third-person perspective through the aforementioned full break action and first-person perspective through dynamic shooting. It promises to inherit the series' legacy with members of the original title's development team joining in on development. So if you're a big Gungrave fan, then that's great news for you. I thought that was.
I know nothing about it. I've never heard of Gungrave.
That's an older game. I mean, it's a lot of people liked it. I was never a fan, but there you go. The other one is, and I'm in two minds about how to pronounce this because it's technically Minor Deity, but it sounds so much better when you say Minor Deity because like it just rolls off the tongue.
All
better.
I think of is an Irish
Minor Deity. So that's a god game that we have coming to PSVR. Recently announced. I know you like your god games, but this is like a medieval-based god game.
When you say god game, you're not God. You're controlling a lot of things.
Yeah, you're just like
you're not Zeus.
Things and knocking things down, and you know you're not. Well, I don't know. You might literally be God since it's called Minor Deity.
That's true.
But yeah,
but you're only a minor god.
Yeah, you're only a little god.
Only baby god.
But it's a medieval god game, and it looks cool. I mean, I think these types of games work particularly well in VR, honestly, because you have that kind of outside scope of actually being an ethereal being, a celestial, monster on top of the world.
I want Godzilla in VR. Can I just be Godzilla in VR? Just destroy shit?
There is a Godzilla VR. You can't be it, but it's an experience.
I would love to have Godzilla VR, and all you do is just swing your arms around to destroy shit.
That would be cool.
Like,
no, the Godzilla
that
exists now is you're basically on the floor, trapped under the rubble, and he walks around and then like stomps you.
Yeah, no, cool. I want to be Godzilla.
Well, that's not a thing yet.
I also want to be able to drop nukes on people. I feel like it'd be just world destruction button.
as Godzilla?
No, different game. Different game.
Godzilla just swinging nukes at people.
Yeah. Like, woo! Like they shoot you with one, you grab it, and you chuck it back.
Godzilla was actually an allegory for anti-nuclear power.
Yeah. Fun fact, that's why you grab it and throw it. Duh.
Yeah,
you know what happens is they shoot a nuke at Godzilla.
No nukes, kids.
They throw the nuke at Godzilla. He grabs it, throws it out in the atmosphere, blows up the moon, and we have a whole nother story going on there.
Yeah. I mean, that's
there you go, Godzilla. Give you a story arc.
Godzilla on the moon.
No, he's on Earth, but he blows up the moon. So then there's a whole other issue.
He has to go to the moon to fix it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so he's gonna be on the moon.
But how do you get Godzilla? How do you get Godzilla on a spaceship?
Yeah, we're already halfway there to a new game.
He's got to make it.
Final Fantasy 15 Monster of the Deep.
Every time I hear about this,
delayed.
I don't care.
I do.
Like, it's gotten to the point where I don't care about this because...
Well, you're not the biggest Final Fantasy fan.
I'm not a Final Fantasy fan. Hey, fishing's all right. I've always wanted a fishing VR game.
But you don't want to fish
I don't want to. No, the thing I don't care about this is I feel like when they said it's coming to PSVR, they showed something that was not this, and now this is getting delayed, and now it's getting pushed back. That like my excitement for this, was months ago, and now
really
I'm saying I don't
the
care.
ball a little bit with this game, but I think if it comes out well,
I don't think it will.
Then it will make up for it somewhat.
I very much don't think it will.
Final Fantasy 15 is now dropped until November 21st, which is quite a ways away. It is available for pre-order on the store still. I don't think it's always been on there, though, at least since they announced it. But yeah, that's now dropped to November 21st, so it looks like you got to wait a little bit longer for your Final Fantasy fishing pleasures. But it will be before the holiday period, so if that's what you're after, then it'll be there. Next up, particularly bizarre video that we have to talk about.
I found this within 5 minutes of it being released.
Yeah,
I was like, ooh.
There is,
and then I showed Beverly at work this, and she was like, "What the hell are you showing me?" I go, "This is a training video." She's like, "No, it's
so
not."
A certain company that enjoys chicken from a certain
KFC, you can say
area.
It's Kentucky Fried Chicken.
KFC made a training video
in VR.
In VR,
which is a cool thought.
Which starts as an escape the room game and ends up teaching you how to make chicken.
Yes,
basically. When I say those words, I'm just thinking, like, why the fuck would they bother? Like, why would you go to all this trouble?
So KFC,
who has to go through this?
So you know something really good about this right now? When's the last time you talked about KFC?
Good point. Yeah.
You know how many people are talking about KFC right now?
More than they were
before.
Ago,
maybe it may not be good talk about it. Just like, I mean, it has nothing to do with their food. It's just like, what the fuck is this?
They said it's like this weird, like Colonel Sanders, like saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I really don't know what the thought process was behind this, other than what can we do that's cool for employee orientation that's not like
it's like
a video
so
for
the way it starts essentially is the fryer area comes up from the ground. Chicken falls from the top. You got to cut it open. You got to inspect the chicken. You got to wash the chicken. You got to fry the chicken. You learn how to do it. I'm not going to go what happens after that. You can watch the video for yourself. It gets a little weird after that.
It gets weird.
But
we have some footage here, but if you want to watch the whole thing, as usual,
with audio, you have to watch it with audio.
The description below.
That
makes it infinitely creepier.
Because the Colonel Sanders voice was disturbing, to say the least. They didn't get a good voice actor.
So I mean, does it teach you to make chicken good? I don't know. Go to KFC and find out.
I want to go to.
We are by no means sponsors. I don't even eat chicken.
We should go to KFC and interview an employee there. Like, did you learn from the VR simulator?
Did you do the VR training video?
If not, I cannot eat your chicken.
Why not? And then lastly, this one was a special one for me because I intend to pick this up at some point. Kaiji Steel Beam Crossing hits the Japan store coming up here. I think it's already hit it.
It sounds like a gymnastics game.
It is. Well, it's like a walk the tightrope type game where you have to walk these sort of thin barriers between buildings, and I don't know if there's too much in the way of like obstacles and things like that, but it's essentially like a tightrope walking game.
Well, if you're walking through buildings, the obstacle is not looking down.
Not to die, I suppose, would be a good obstacle. But I don't know if there's like people like actively trying to like fuck with you while you're there. But yeah, it looks interesting, as you can see from the trailer. Yeah, Kaiji Steel Beam Crossing on the Japan store. You can get this game. All you need to do is go to play-asia.com, buy a Japanese PSN card, go to our link for how to create foreign accounts. There's a whole playlist full of them, starting with Japan. Create yourself a foreign account and use that card to redeem.
I actually sent that. This is a shameful plug, but I sent that how to create a European account to somebody because Knack 2 released on the European store before the US store. It's on the US store now. I got it. But the Kind of Funny group it's stupid how much they are like into Knack. Like it's every day there's a Knack joke happening. So they're like, "Hey, Knack 2's on the EU store." I was like, "Hey, just so you guys know, I mean, shameless plug, but you can make an EU account and you can play the game now if you want to, or the demo if you want to." And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Knack." Like literally, it's like if ever there's a poll, and, you know, like people can make polls on Facebook. It's like, what's your favorite video, or what's your favorite ice cream? Rocky Road, chocolate chip, mint. Knack is always on the list, and it's always number one.
Interesting.
Welcome to Kind of Funny.
Yeah. So yeah, by all means, if you want to get Kaiji, then you can. You just have to follow those instructions. We're really proud of those videos.
And if you have questions, Tom's really, I can't answer them because he made them. But when it comes to like how to make the accounts, but he's been in the comments, and if I'm sure there's
trying to help people.
You can look in there too to see if there's any questions already been asked that you need, or just honestly reach out to us.
Yeah,
or him.
Tom at level2gamers.com.
Don't reach out to me because I'll be like, I don't fucking know.
That will be his exact response.
Yeah.
So moving on.
No, my actual response would be like, I'm gonna send this on to Tom.
That's
probably the real response.
That's the last of our news section. So thanks for hanging out for that. But we are going to get into the Spotlight and the question. Spotlight is one that I am extremely happy to talk about. So my Spotlight for VR this week is a game called Apollo 11 VR Experience. Now,
what is the Apollo 11 mission, Tom?
Glad you asked. So the Apollo 11 mission was the mission to put man on the moon for the first time, sometime around 1969, by the orders of Mr. John F. Kennedy.
By the end of this decade,
yeah, you got it.
To the moon.
So
it's decade is how he says it, I believe.
he's Irish, whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, so here's the thing. Like, there's a lot of games that came out this week, and I could have waited and recorded like a Spark or what the other one was, Abduction and whatever. But I've had this game on my radar for so long, and it got released on the UK store like way early, and everyone was like raving about how fun it was. And when it came out on the North American store, I feel like there was little to no fanfare for it whatsoever.
We don't care. We have a few other things. Which is weird
because it's your fucking rocket that went up there. But it
well, yeah, we don't care. The space landing was a fake landing, Tom. Haven't you heard that story yet?
Sorry.
It's not real.
Yeah,
it was on a set.
Spoilers: the whole game is in a green screen studio.
It's a green screen studio.
But so Apollo 11, obviously, massively historic mission that was taken by the American team of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, etc., etc. And so this is an educational VR experience.
I'm very excited for this based on what you told me. I haven't played it yet. I was going to play it this morning, but I didn't.
Tell you some more.
But I'm super excited.
So yeah, it's an educational VR experience that teaches you about how all of that happened, the exact like way that they took off, that they changed around their ships in space, that they landed, the things they did when they got on the surface, and then how they took back off.
Does it talk about the space program in general, or is it just Apollo 11?
So it's pretty much just Apollo 11, but there are some other hints at like outside.
As I've said many times, I'm a history buff, so like this is in my wheelhouse.
So you can play it one of two ways. You can play it either completely cinematically, which means you have zero control whatsoever throughout any parts of the mission, or you can play it interactively, which means there are 3 areas of the experience where you can actually control the outcome. I will say this, I chose interactive through my playthrough, and I regretted it because I way preferred going through it cinematically than having to actually do anything. The only part I enjoyed interactive-wise was jumping around on the moon. But
so what are the interactive
So here are the 3
parts?
sections that you have to control.
Because now I need to know, because when I'm playing, Tom,
it's totally
I need to know which way I want to do it.
So I did leave them in the video so you can see them see me horribly trying to do it manually. But the first one is when you initially break off like the moon buggy part from the rest of the spaceship.
The Rover?
Whatever. Yeah, I guess so.
It's called the Rover.
Before you go down to the moon itself. So what you actually have to do is get this extra level of propulsion to do that. So if you have these 2 parts, they have one split out. you are in this part, you have to turn it exactly right and then hit it back in at exactly the right place so it hits the thrusters and enables you to go
Is this move based or is this DualShock?
This is completely controller based.
Okay.
And so the difficult part is this. And this is cool though, because you're in the cockpit of the spaceship and you have like this like kind of like a magnifying glass type thing in front of you, and you have to actually peer through it, and it lines up a crosshair, and then you're supposed to line the crosshair up. Like once you do the flip in space, you have to line up the crosshair and balance, and then you stop, and then the next is like going left or right, and then you stop, and then you have to have the perfect trajectory back in to land it against there and you know have it work. My problem when I played it was I was apparently no, that wasn't a factor. Was that I didn't know where the X was supposed to line up to. I assumed it was in the center of the thing, which is like this big circle, but it wasn't. It's like off to the left somewhere, and I saw that in the cinematic and I was like, motherfucker, I could have done it. But yeah, I was just horrible at it. But that's cool. That's nerve-wracking. It's almost like you get to be in that one part of like Interstellar where you have to time everything just right.
Well, that's what they had to do in real life.
Exactly.
So
and it moves really slow.
I've not been to the moon.
Like, you have Neil Armstrong like right by you, like, you know, saying, "Oh, a little to the left, little to the right." It's really cool. And the second part of the mission is the actual landing part. So, okay, your rover has gotten ready. It's orientated correctly so that the feet are facing down onto the moon's surface. Now, how do you get that smooth? Like, it's literally like landing in an airplane.
Oh,
right?
So it wasn't a rover; it was a pod.
Yeah.
I was thinking car thing, but yeah, I was talking about the pod with the 4 legs. And
the pod thing.
The pod.
So you have to like orientate yourself correctly so that the legs are down, and then you have to like, you know, if you descend.
What happens if you land upside down? Does it just like end the game?
It just before you even get close to it, it'll stop it if you're not on the right trajectory.
Oh, okay.
So I tried again.
You fucked up, you're dead.
I tried it once. I fucked it up horribly. I overshot the landing pod by quite a significant margin, and but it's fun to try and do it. I don't think the controls are explained the best because they're like they show you like for like 10 seconds what they are. You have to remember all the buttons.
That's when you screenshot it.
And then, well, no.
Even though you're in VR.
Yeah, exactly. They do kind of hint at you what you're supposed to be doing, but because everything is so fucking delicate, you don't have time to like pay attention to the words because you're like, oh, I can't like look away because then I'm just going to crash. So that part I sucked at. So I watched the cinematic for that too. The only part that I did actually do all by myself was the moon landing part, which is the third interactive experience where you have to exit the pod, and then you have to walk around and set up
the lunar module.
Yeah, you have to set
I'm going to come up with as many words for this pod as I can.
You have to set up all of the different things that they set up when they were there. So in terms of, like, you set up something for measuring the dust levels. You set up something for measuring the moisture levels. You set up, you know, all this kind of stuff.
All in the green screen studio, of course.
All in the green screen studio. But the cool part about it is once you set that thing up, there's a little, like a speaker symbol on it. So you can press that, and a very nice Australian lady tells you all about that thing and what it did and why they used it and how it got there and all that kind of stuff. Even the flag, like you have to plant the flag.
Okay, I was gonna say that's what I was gonna ask, because that's the most iconic photo is the flag on the stick.
You can take photos while you're on the moon too, by the way. That's something you have to do. So I was just like jumping after Neil Armstrong trying to take a selfie. But you have the flag.
I just picture you with the VR headset literally jumping down here trying to do it.
It's really fun. So you plant the flag and then you press the flag and it tells you about like what it's made out of, like where it came from.
Because the big controversy I'm going to bring up this conspiracy theory over and over again is the flag waves and there's no atmosphere on the moon.
Well, the flag was apparently taken out of the offices of the initial place where they did all the planning for this. It was a government building that had that flag up there, and they had several flags that they took with them, but this was the biggest one. So I mean, when they plant it, and I don't just know if it's because it's like they couldn't afford the assets or what, but it's like flat. It's like they're flat.
I know, but what I'm saying in the real moon landing,
right.
The controversy is the flag waves. What they said was basically they were spinning it, which I don't know how that works on the moon because I've never been in a vacuum.
I don't fucking know. But I mean, I'm not here to.
But the flag is in it, which is very important because that's the most iconic. Yeah, to me, that's the most iconic part of it. And the photo of the moon that they got.
Yeah, and when you're you can see the Earth like from where you are. And here's the really beautiful thing. What really pulls it together for me, because the interaction was great. And here, honestly, graphically, it ain't up to much. Like it's good. It's okay.
It's passable.
Like, the moon's surface is like a little like boring. And
well, it's the fucking moon.
I know, but like, there's no real fine detail to it.
Can you jump in a crater? Because I would love that.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
So Neil Armstrong and Buzz are with you while you're like, you know, traveling and taking off and everything. And you have to take off, by the way. So like right near the beginning, you're in the shuttle while they're counting down, and then like it starts taking off, and like you can see yourself going out of the atmosphere. You can look through the window and see as like, you know, blue becomes black.
Did they teach you how to use the toilet? Because if you've never seen how to use the toilet on the International Space Station, you should watch the YouTube video. I'll show you one we're importing after this episode.
There's a part where you're actually in space and you can see a pencil start floating in front of you, and you're just like, oh shit, man, this is crazy. But like, they have lots of close-ups of where you're like flying by a planet, whether it's Earth or the moon or whatever, and it's just so beautiful. Like, a couple times, I'm not gonna lie, I did tear up a little bit while I was playing it, just because of how beautiful everything was, the way they set it up. The music, the orchestral score is what gets you, because that orchestral score is majestic as fuck. Now, we got like killed on copyright claims for the gameplay for this, because there's like 10 songs in there, but they're amazing, and without them you really can't appreciate it, so I left them in anyway, and they can make all the money they want to. But yeah, immersion level is incredible. It is a short experience. It took me about an hour to get through the whole thing, and I was kind of taking my time, but to actually learn what you learn by playing it, this was made as an educational experience in VR.
I assume NASA was involved, I'm guessing.
But it was a Kickstarter, actually. But yeah, but they had some NASA involvement. They had, I think it might even be the same team that's trying to put together Mars 2030. But basically, they made it as an educational tool for children to try and explain to them what that whole feeling was like. So the whole thing starts out with you in a random room, like in the 70s, or, you know, 60s, I guess, late 60s, that looks 70s, decorated with like lava lamps and eggshell chairs and shit. But you have the Kennedy speech in front of you, projected the entire speech around there. So you're just sat there kind of like him, you know, talking about the moon. And
we do it not because it's easy, but because they are hard.
Yeah,
I love that. That's probably one of my favorite speeches of all time.
Beautiful speech, and then you go from there. There's a lot of you just kind of like JFK floating around in the air, observing, like, you know, the size of the spaceship. And it's not until you actually get inside the cockpit that it kind of switches over more to like this first person.
I don't think I've ever told you this, but JFK is probably my favorite president of all time because of how idealistic he is, whether that's realistic or not. I'm a big JFK fan.
Yeah.
When it comes to that kind of stuff.
Me too.
So
yeah. So honestly, for $12, it's $11.99. They should have made it 11, right? Apollo 11 should have been 11. Anyway, for $12, you can get that experience, and don't see it as a game, because the game elements are few and far between. There's some in there just for funsies, but they're like, really the only like kind of enjoyable gamey part you're going to get is jumping around on the moon and just observing the environment, which is way more of an experience than a game per se. But as a cinematic treat, and as something that is educational and allowing you to witness a pivotal moment in history, about as good as you're ever going to be able to witness it until like VR gets to, you know, lifelike conditions. They use all this archived footage, archived audio, beautifully done, wonderful experience, and I would highly recommend. Again, being a history guy, I've always used the example of going back in time and seeing certain things, how they've gone historically, and I love this concept, and I want more of this stuff, because this to me is probably where I would spend most of my time in VR. I watch lots of documentaries. I love going back and kind of check out those David Attenborough ones on the UK store.
I need
They're
to.
On my account. You can still.
I need to.
Yeah.
So this makes me super happy. I want to see more of this. I would love to have one based on World War II. I'd want to have one based on just various events that have happened, 9/11.
It's definitely
ancient Egypt, that kind of thing.
It's definitely less gamey than Time Machine VR, but it has that same kind of vibe as like wanting to teach you things.
So I think I've told the story before, but one of my favorite. I knew nothing about the Oklahoma City bombing. Do you know what about that with Timothy McVeigh and all that? Yep. So I went to that museum. We were driving cross country because we sold our house in California, moving to New York. We took it drive cross country. Knew nothing about Oklahoma City bombing at all because I was too young. I spent hours. We were there for probably 3.5 hours, and that was the coolest thing because the way they have it set up, as you know, is it's timeline based. So it's like, okay, you start out, and there's a recording from across that they had a meeting across the street that you can hear the bomb go off, and I was just like, I love that kind of stuff. And
you're a little bit like me in that sense. Like, love is a weird word, because you are interested in that stuff. You don't love when someone blew up an entire city block. No, but the tale and the story behind it and how it gets to be that way is
why somebody did it, I think, is kind of the big thing to me. That's why I've always said I've said many times, fascinated with World War II because of how could Hitler come to power? How did all this happen without people noticing?
How did humanity get that far?
Yeah, that type of thing. So
me and my wife are similar. History. That's why we went, actually. We do what we call affectionately tragedy tours. So if we're going to a place where we know like a terrible event happened.
Have you been to Ground
Zero? Not yet.
We'll get you to Ground Zero before my parents move.
But tragedy tours are our thing, where we like to go to places where dark moments in history happen to remind us
I want to go to
never fucking do them. But we went to where JFK got shot. On the I got to sit on the grassy knoll, and you can see like the road has X's in it in two places from where the two bullets were. But yeah, really incredible. Like the book suppository window is open, the one that the gun came out of, and really weird vibes being there. But yeah, it was just like to know that you were there at that place and where something historically.
Could you imagine now
happened.
Doing that and being there? They could be able to recreate it in that time, and you could watch it happen in real time.
Though, wouldn't it? I don't know.
I mean, I've said it before. I feel like anything should be allowed to be made in VR. It's up to the consumer to determine what they should watch.
I think it's up to the Kennedy family to allow it to happen, because I mean there's a level of reality that you're crossing there where you're like, just because JFK was the president doesn't mean that he wasn't a human. And
but how's that any different than watching it in a video format?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's a documentary style,
you're
showing video footage and you're talking about it, but it's VR, you're recreating.
It's for educational purposes.
Yeah, but you're not you're not watching the video in VR. You're actually creating the scene in VR, which goes a step further.
See, I don't have an issue with that.
Ethics panel.
I don't have an issue with that.
Do you have an issue with that? That's a good question to ask. It's not our question, but it's a good one. Our actual question is, what has VR made you realize about yourself? I thought I came up with this one the other day. I thought it was kind of an interesting thing because I've definitely learned like a couple things about myself playing VR, and I wanted you to kick it off. So
I need you to. What do you mean by this question?
So what I'm saying is VR, before the world of VR, before we ever tried it, what have you discovered since playing it about yourself, as far as any experiences that you've tried, any even if it's just like how your body adjusts to motion, to something like a game experience you didn't think you'd enjoy but you ended up enjoying, to if there's like a certain like barrier of what you can deal with and what you can't deal with in that situational experience. So like, you know, like you played Farpoint up until the spider jumped and you're like, fuck, I can't do jumping spiders. Like that's a thing I can't do now. That you learned. But in like a normal FPS you might have been all right with that, you know, but Elder Scrolls or whatever. So like what VR experience or experiences led you to learn something about you and your behavior that you didn't know before you played it?
I mean, it's a lot of it is just kind of, I'm trying to think of the word, emphasizing, making it more pronounced, the stuff I do. So like motion sickness. I've always been motion sick. I cannot do spinning rides. I will throw up. I will puke my brains out, and I know that. VR is a different type of motion sick because you're not spinning, but it does make you sick because you're like, your body's like, whoa. And I'm fine with like anything sitting down. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm good with that. I'm good with anything with slow motion, with even some of the walking. Like in Farpoint, I marched. You made fun of me, but that's how my body would cope with like, okay, I'm moving, those type of things. So motion sickness has always been there. I think it's interesting to see kind of how my body's reacted to different ones. Riggs was the first one that made me go, oh, can't do that.
Yeah, it's weird. I'll get back to your point here, but I'm the same in the sense that I can't fucking stand like rides. Like I've never been on a roller coaster. I've never done any of those weird spinny twisty things. Like I've done a Gravitron, and I remember going behind the Gravitron and just puking. I've done the waltzers before, which spin and made me feel like infinitely sick. But I don't like heights combined with like spinnies and things like that. So I never really go on fairground rides. Like I might go on a log flume or something.
I like the I don't know what they're called, but the thing that shoot you up and then you come down.
The vertical dropping.
Love those.
No, can't stand
love those. I want to do the one on Stratosphere
which
in
is
Vegas.
weird, though, because, like, the thing about
heights,
rigs is that you're literally doing that. Your body thinks you're jumping really high.
But you don't feel
landing.
it, I think is what it is.
See, I got, like, a hint of nausea from that, but then after, like, the first couple times, I just got so used to it that it
I also played it really early, so that's the other thing, too. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if I went back to it, it might not be as bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised with my tolerance level.
Yeah, you can, from my experience, you can do way more than the average person in VR. I think I'm way more of the average person when it comes to how long I can play, what I can play, my tolerance level, because I can play pretty much every game in VR. I will have moments of, like, wooziness, but I can get through it. And then there's moments where, like, if I can play Werewolves or I can play Star Trek for hours because I'm just sitting there looking at screens, getting lost in that world, and I can play it for hours, have no issue. So it's not like I have an issue with VR itself. It's based on the game and the movement inside the game and how we do it.
Trackmania Turbo.
Yeah, I was fine until we went whoop, and I got stuck, and I was like, nope. Yeah. Like, it was an immediate switch of, like, I got to get this off now before it gets worse. And you can feel it because you get all, like, clammy. You're like, ugh.
Yeah, I've definitely had that experience a couple times, but then once I push past that, like, I think, and the weird part is now it almost, because I was worried I would lose the VR legs, because someone had mentioned, like, in the r/PSVR forums that it is possible to lose your VR legs if you don't play it for long enough. But I actually discovered that it doesn't seem to matter how long I'm away from it. I'm always fine when I put it on. And
it takes a second. When I first put the headset on, even in the menu, sometimes I have to sit there for like a second, just let everything go, and like, okay, I'm back in VR. Right. Like Star Trek, we play Star Trek, and it's just that half second of like, okay, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I'm good. It's kind of like when you come back out of it, you're like, I'm back to the real world.
I also learned about myself that I feel like I would be better in a horror scenario than I had previously thought I would be. Because even though as you know, I fucking love horror in every format that I can find it in. It's something about it since I was a kid. I love it so much. Understand. But I love horror movies, but I never really get like scared by that stuff. But I always thought that if I was put in that scenario, in a haunted house or, in whatever, that I would lose my mind. And definitely, like, playing through Resident Evil 7, like, there was some moments when I was like, oh my god, like, this is fucking terrifying. I don't know how it can keep going. But I always did. But
I think part of you also realized it was a game. I think if it was real world, it'd be a different situation.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not saying,
like if someone comes out to you with an axe or a chainsaw and just like...
True, but it bothered me far less than I thought it would. Yeah. Especially with Paranormal Activity, because ghosts are one of my worst ones. Because, like, I don't mind necessarily the idea of, like, slashers or whatever, because that's just like a psycho. That's just like, okay, we have to deal with a psycho. But ghosts, like, being of that supernatural aura, like, they've always scared me. I still can watch, like, ghost hunters and all that kind of stuff because I don't believe in them, but the idea of if they potentially did exist, that I would be like absolutely terrified. Like if stuff was flying across the room in front of me, you wouldn't see me for like a month. I would just disappear and like die somewhere.
I think the big thing I've realized, and I guess this is kind of not necessarily myself, but just VR as the platform, is people always talk about game immersion. Game immersion. I'm so lost in that game. I got lost in Ark when that game came out. I've gotten lost in Elder Scrolls. But getting lost in VR versus getting lost in a normal game is the two different categories. Because I've never gotten to the point where I've played a flat game, a normal non-VR game, and lost track of time.
Yeah.
Like, I was always aware of what time. It doesn't mean I didn't play for hours.
I think that's partially because you can just glance at your phone or a clock or something, but in VR you can't do that.
Yeah, and you're also, like, when I was talking about Bridge Crew, Star Trek, I had that realization of, like, I've been lost in the game without realizing it. Like, yes, David's there, we're joking and having this fun, and the moments you come out of it is when something stupid happens, like the thing glitches out or whatever it may be, but if the game runs smoothly, I am that captain on that ship giving orders to everybody, and I've never had a video game that has done that to me to the extent that one has. Like, I think for immersion level, Star Trek VR or Star Trek Bridge Crew is the highest immersion I've ever had in any video game ever, and that's somebody who doesn't know anything about Star Trek. Just
did you like that, or were you scared by that?
I loved it. I could see how it could potentially be terrifying in other formats and other games, so again, I've always been a huge proponent of anybody can make anything on any platform media-wise. You have the right to make whatever you want. You also have to understand there will be consequences for things you make, and people have the right to not play your game, and it's up to the consumer to determine what is for them and what is not. So if I say I played a game where I played Jason in VR, where I just went murdering people, that would fuck with me different than being a captain on a bridge, obviously. So I think that would be...
Can you make that happen, by the way? Jason in VR?
I don't think it'll happen.
I would love that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, that's where you're starting to get... And again, I don't want to tell people not to make something, but that's where I would get into the line of, if this becomes real enough and I'm actually feel like I'm murdering somebody versus playing Friday the 13th.
There's like a weird ethical boundary.
Playing Friday the 13th, there's a disconnect because you're like, oh, I'm watching a TV screen. Yeah. It's like watching a movie, essentially, but you're controlling it.
Well, I felt a bit like that in Surgeon Simulator when I had that body in front of me and I had all the tools and everything. You know, I'm trying to be all delicate and doctory, even though I know I just smashed the point of it. I got there, trust me. But like when I'm trying to do this and like parts of their eyes are popping out or whatever, and I was like, oh my God, I'm just like... God, I could never do this. Like, and I got to the point where, like, if I like hit them with a hammer, I would feel bad.
Oh, see, I looked at it. I looked at that when I played the game. I looked at that as like a cartoon. Like that to me, I'm playing a game. Yeah. My mindset is I'm playing a game.
It was too realistic for me. Like, I actually couldn't see it as a cartoon, even though it obviously was. Like, I got too immersed in it, and it actually made me uncomfortable, like a little bit. So that's definitely something I learned.
The other thing I learned about myself is I definitely prefer experiences over games.
Yeah?
Yes, hands down. I prefer the cinematic stuff. I prefer the... Like, I like having few elements here and there. Like, I don't like just sitting there and watching stuff. But I do prefer... Because, again, I think that there's a good chance that this medium could do really well in movies and TV shows. And you'll make VR-specific content, and you'll make VR or content that is put into VR. Kind of tacked on after the fact, and there's so much possibility for something like that to happen, and things like Emulate or things like Invasion, and like it's really cool how you can have that experience going. That's why I'm super excited for Apollo 11. Like that's something I could not do in VR. We were talking about on Indie Please Details yesterday. What's something that people have not been able to do? Basically the gameplay since PS2 has been the same. Was the argument I made, and you could not go back to Apollo 11 and feel like you were there without VR. You could watch it on a screen, but you would be sitting there and you would still have your walls. You'd be in your house. So that's where it's like, this is so cool, and I still really want like a travel simulator or something like that where I can go. Like I do want games. Don't get me wrong. I love playing games. I love Star Trek Bridge Crew. I love Job Simulator. I love Trackmania Turbo. I love those kind of things. But man, I would love like just to go somewhere and say, let me escape from this.
Some of the more underutilized aspects.
Yeah,
of VR,
it just
perhaps.
I would love to, again, historical things.
Educationally as well.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Historically, I would love to go to the Great Wall of China as it's being built, or go to the pyramids of Egypt. And granted, it probably won't be accurate because we don't know everything about them, but we know enough to say, hey, this is what we know now.
This is what we think happened.
Yes, and I would love that kind of stuff.
Can you imagine if you were in school and they were like, hey, instead of learning about Apollo 11, put this on. And then just like watch this.
We're going to get there eventually, I think. So. I mean, that's where it's going to be expensive initially, but it's going to get to the point where these things will drop down. People will have access to technology. And that's why I'm a firm believer in VR. I don't think it, as the discussion last week, I don't think it's a full-fledged medium yet. I think it's going to get there. The educational opportunities for something like this, or they use it right now for learning how to do surgery. Like that kind of stuff is so cool, and they're so underutilized because we played on a gaming console, and that's what's pushing it now. But I've always said PlayStation is going to be, or PlayStation, Facebook's going to be a big one. If Google buys Vive, like I'm super excited for that, as scary as that is, because they have the resources to push that thing forward.
There you go. So, what about you? What is something that you realized about yourself after playing VR? Was it that you were a lot braver than you thought, or that things disgusted you a lot more than you thought?
Things are more terrifying in VR.
That's for sure.
Especially when they're life-size. Jesus Christ.
Did you discover you're actually a good driver, or whatever it is that you discovered?
Did you discover you're a good driver in VR?
I'm not bad.
That's sad.
Drive Club, I was all right at.
If you actually drove and you found out you're a good driver in VR, that's terrifying because it means you're a bad driver not in VR.
Maybe. Let's find out. But yeah, so what did you discover? about yourself after playing a VR game. This has been Codename Morpheus, episode 7. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all the love recently that we've received from you guys. I really do appreciate it. There's a lot of people that really love this show, and we really love making it. So don't forget, if you like the formats that we have, you can tune in to Indie Please Add Details if you're a big indie game fan. Sometimes that does involve crossover to the world of VR, so it's worth paying attention to. And then, of course, tomorrow, our more relaxed podcast where we just talk about
us
being YouTubers. So we did cross that 1,000 threshold recently. We want to thank you one more time again for helping us get there. It means the world to us, and you mean the world to us. And it's been a really good week or so, I'd say, as far as content and channel and everything. So with that being said, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always,
welcome to the second level.
Bye.
Bye.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.